Hey there, everyone. I'm Chris Arredondo, co-founder here at Cargo Chief and host of Get Freight Too, where we combine automated workflows with efficient lane management to help brokers reduce their reliance on load boards, grow revenue, maximize productivity. In our podcast, Get Freight Too, we cover unique topics going on in the world of freight with industry experts. From best practices, tips, tricks, new products, and whatever else impacts this industry, you name it, we'll talk about it. In this episode, we unpack some very engaging topics and meaningful conversations from the 2024 Tai User Summit. The biggest takeaway that we shared is how the partnership ecosystem has shifted from several tools and applications to brokers really only wanting to work with those they trust and have already established credibility. Greg with Concept shares some insight from a broker's perspective and how his team is implementing what he learned at the summit from talking with other companies and expanding the partnerships that Tai Software has helped form. Joining me, we've got the CEO of Tai Software, Mitch Mitchell, VP of Operations at Concept Logistics, Greg Finnerty, and the VP of Strategic Partnerships at Greenscreens, Matt Silver. Listen in to hear what set this conference apart from the rest as we get free to it. All right, guys. Thanks for joining me today. I got Greg Finnerty, Mitch Mitchell, and Matt Silver. Greg, who are you? What do you do? Tell us a little bit.
Concept Logistics. I'm the VP of Ops. Kind of run the broker floor, make sure that people are doing what they do and they have all the tools to do it with.
Galactic Overlord.
Yes, that's exactly what I am.
Mitch.
That should be the title. Yeah, I'm Mitch. I'm CEO of Tai Software. Tai Software provides a TMS for freight brokers, mostly focusing on LTL and FTL.
Yeah. Matt, who are you? What do you do other than have a gnarly beard?
Yeah, so first and foremost, best beard in freight is what I've been hearing lately. There's a constant battle between Ryan Schreiber and I around that, so I believe he conceded. Nonetheless, Matt Silver, Vice President of Partnerships with Greenscreens. Greenscreens is a dynamic and predictive pricing platform for brokers, so you can understand the cost of a transaction before you get yourself involved in it.
Yeah, I'm Chris Arredondo, co-founder here at Cargo Chief. Pretty much any hat that's around, I've worn it. Other than coding, I have no business doing that. What we do, a little bit more about what we do, is really put order to the chaos. Help people, I don't know, maybe have more control over the market, get away from all the fraud, and have a more secure transaction. Really what we do. So today, I think what we're going to talk about is a little different than what we used to. Sort of starting this series off, we just had a Tai User Summit. That was pretty awesome there in Denver. We're going to unpack a little bit about kind of what went on, what we learned, things like that. So I guess, Mitch, I'm going to start with you. What was the objective for the Tai Summit, just in general? What were you guys looking for?
Yeah, we were really proud to host right about 150 people at our User Summit this year, and really focused on two things. Number one, how to best use the Tai platform. And second, building community. We were fortunate to have a handful of our partners, including you and Matt, were there, and one of our customers, Greg, as well. So bringing all of our customers together and bringing our partners together, it really gave us an opportunity to talk about how to use Tai, how to use your TMS, what are some best practices, and the conversations end up being really great around how to be a better broker and how to do your job better and how to get the most out of all the tools that you're using. So really happy that we were able to host it this year, and it ended up being a really successful event.
Yeah, it's I'd say it was probably one of the best, if not the best event that I've been to. I think it was just, I don't know, the brotherhood and sisterhood of everybody around. It was just very different, very alive. I think that was one of the things that, like, sure, the market's kind of where it is right now, but y'all, logistics is thriving right now, and people and partners are making it happen, and that it was just very exciting to kind of see that. I guess, Mitch, what have you seen change over the last couple of years? And yeah, I think this was the third one, or
this was our fourth User Summit, and actually Greg was part of our first User Summit. Funny enough, our first User Summit wasn't really organized by Tai. It was organized by Greg and a couple of our other customers that got together, and they called us up and said, hey, we want to host a User Summit and we'd like you guys to attend. And true story. And we were pleased to attend, but the thing that I learned from that first one is that the Tai user base the brokers that we have, guys like Greg and partners like you guys, all work together so well, and the community around it is amazing. So when we saw the first one, what we saw was the amount of sharing that happened amongst our customer base was tremendous. And each year, as we've evolved, we've tried to stay close to that. And I should let Greg speak to whether or not we accomplished that or not, because it's really about the customer, right? It's about making sure that they get to something valuable out of coming to our conference. And part of that community and that sharing culture that is around our customer base is really what makes that so valuable and levels up everybody.
Yeah, I mean, just to add in there, Mitch, it has continued to, from the genesis of it and where it started as. I mean, it was a couple of us that got together and we're talking consistently, and we're like, let's get everybody in one spot at one time. And then I think it was Jordan at ARL. It was like, hey, let's also invite Tai if we're all getting together. So at the reluctance, no, we loved it, and they came in, and I think the real point of it, the real big piece, and I think maybe what's different, Chris, to what you highlighted about what a conference kind of usually is, and this user summit has become and maintained its kind of core value, is that it's a two-way conversation. It's not Tai coming to us saying, this is what's next, this is what we're going to do. There's a two-way conversation. So we're listening to each other, we're understanding each other, like we're asking for things, they're listening to what we need. We're talking with partners. How can we better use it within the system? How does this affect Tai? How does this, optimize our operations? I think that's, right now what I'm focusing on is doing more with less, or at least streamlining the operations, making sure everybody's on the same page. And I was on a call with Mitch even before the user conference, and we chatted a bit. And look, at brokers and people in logistics, we're a creative bunch. We're problem solvers, right? That's really what we do. In the core of everything, we solve problems. So when you give us something, we're going to make something out of it, whether it was the intention of that product or not. Where I think the partnership and the value comes in, where Mitch was talking, is that I learned what Mitch's intention of it was, and maybe that's not where we were taking it, and we can better use what's already there and add in our tools, add in our C4, add in our green screens, optimize our workflows. There was just a ton to take in, and really great conversations about how other brokers are doing things, and a lot of light bulbs going off between everybody, and some honest conversations.
Yeah, it was really cool to see kind of the partnership ecosystem. I think that's a lot different than, some other TMSs or just conferences in general. Like it was, Matt, I don't know what your expectations going in were, but, for us, like we had, a handful of customers there, definitely like Greg meeting up, bouncing ideas off rather than writing it down on a whiteboard behind them. But it was good to like actually have some meaningful conversations and to like just hear the positivity and what our partners are looking for. Like, we announced our truck stop RMIS integration there, which, people saw and of current customers, and they're like, hey, I didn't know you were doing that yet. So, that was, we were able to get that out. But at the same time, my carrier portal, like we're tightening that integration even more. So it's based, just using conversations that we have with mutual customers. It was incredible, far beyond met my expectations. So I don't know, Matt, what about you?
Yeah, I think it's, in these environments, it's always interesting for us to, I think to Mitch's point, like understand usage relative to intent of a product, right? Because you actually find out what the end user sitting in the seat is doing with your product, with the integration. But it's really great for us to work with C4 and some of the other partners to say like, okay, there's a customer demand for this. Could it be handled in the TMS? Like, of course, but is there something we can do with other partners in the room to enhance it even further? Something we can do to pass data, to eliminate keystrokes, mouse clicks, logging in somewhere else, really get down to the minutes and the clicks we can save by working together. I mean, that's like the unintended outcome of a lot of these showcases and events that are really, really amazing. I think it's one of the things I thrive on too, is just getting in that room, somebody who used to book loads, somebody who used to run brokerage, and being able to say, like, in my past, I always wished this was possible. Now I can run between the partners. I can grab a customer. I can grab a prospect even and say, hey, if we did this, could you say yes? Right. And we can validate it right there on the fly. It's great.
Yeah. A lot of, companies want everything. Like I've seen it bounce around. Like one year it was like, we're okay with going to another application. Another year they're like, no, I want everything in one TMS. Then it's like, well, now I'm cool with the app, but I really want everything in the TMS, but I also want everything to work with this other thing that we're doing in order to get to the outcome that we want. And it's like, Greg, we talked about some things like lane density and just added stuff into like just the different products that you're using. I think the big collaborations, I guess, or new things that I saw was that really like it's way different than a customer call. We can always set up a Zoom and like, just from here waist up, but like putting legs to the face and like just having a conversation with like me and Greenscreens and Concept together, like that was really powerful. I think for us just to push product forward for our customers for like mutually beneficial use cases for everybody, it was incredible. I don't know. Any of you guys want to start with any collaborations, insights that you had that were like top of the mountain sort of thing?
That mutual listening, I think, is, as you guys are all kind of talking about, that's really the key component of it, right? Is the listening to how are you using the system, and then us saying as well, like, this is how you should be using the system, or this is our intent for using the system. This is our intent for working with Greenscreen, and so forth. So like that mutual listening, I think, is really the core component of it. But then also, the conversation gets even more difficult. Like, it's hard enough just to work with a broker and a TMS. Like, that relationship is hard enough. And as Greg was talking about right before the summit, we'd had some conversations about things that they could be doing differently in the TMS and things we can help them with. But that's not even including you two, for example, right? And what we're really trying to do in the TMS is make a connection between Cargo Chief, between Greenscreens, between Concept and Tai, and bringing it all together. Now there's four of us involved in that conversation, and we all know how that goes, right? I mean, the more involved, the harder it gets. But the reality of it is you cannot run an effective full truckload brokerage today without additional tools. You can't grab just a TMS and be like, I have one TMS and nothing else. I mean, that's a great fantasy maybe, but it's not the reality of the way the world needs to be. You have to have some kind of compliance tool. You have to have the powerful rating tools and data analytics tools that your two companies provide to be a successful full truckload broker. And if you don't have those, there's no chance you're going to compete with the big players. But with them, you can take a broker who's a smaller company and compete at the highest level, because you get to bring best of breed in, you get to bring in Greenscreens and have the powerful rating components and pricing components that are unmatched. So you get to be at that level without having the millions and millions of dollars of investment, right? Like C.H. Robinson was pumping their emailing promotion the other day about how much money they spent on that and how much time it took them. Well, we've been offering that for 2 years in our product. And we offer it to everybody, like any broker, any smaller broker, and you can compete at the same thing. You can compete at that really high level without having all that infrastructure behind you. Take advantage of the tools, let the TMS do the connectivity for you.
Well, I think that's a great point. When we go to this user conference and we see all the things that Tai can be doing for us that we're doing manually, whether it be the workflow automation, Mitch, or the email assistant or the task list, like those are the things that I want to make sure that we're on the same page of on the floor, and we're all working together in the same way, and it's cutting down the workload. So guess what? Now I can start to aim a couple of my carrier reps or a pricing guy towards a C4 and towards a Greenscreens and start to really look into the data and become experts there, because they're not bogged down by that extra work that we've got to do and all these other things of load input, deliveries, and POD retrieval, all that kind of stuff that, Mitch and Tai are offering to us. We can actually use the tools in the correct way and up the game of even what we were doing before to capture more business or do better in the business that we're doing right now.
Yeah, we're not, we work with other, companies, and people ask us like, do you have onboarding? I'm like, well, we're not really in the business of compliance and onboarding. We'll hook up to your tools that you use. Like with Greenscreens, we're not in the business of predictive intel on like rating insights. Like we have a rating engine, but it's used differently. And we're in the business of procurement, and whatever you guys want to focus on with your other tools, they can drive that conversation because they're the experts. And I think that's like more definitive of like building up like a newer broker, or maybe a broker that's trying to scale. Like, how do they put together this like Frankenstein tech stack that has these 3 or 4 got to haves to build out and scale their business? It's really interesting to hear how that changes. And now there's like a tight focus on like, people that work with Greenscreens, and then they're like, oh, you guys also work with Cargo Chief and also with Tai. Then it's like, you already built the trust, the credibility, like it's a great product, great people. And that's where I see the environment sort of just like shifting. There's that, it's really cool to just see like I said earlier, the partnership ecosystem kind of expand and evolve. Matt, what about you? What any highlights or like meaningful conversations you had?
Oh, I mean, so many of them, honestly, like the ecosystem in general. And like, this is one of those things that, I think 5 years ago when I started in, partnerships, I think there was like, I don't know, 4 or 5 of us in the industry, right? There wasn't like, partnerships wasn't a division of a company. It wasn't a title that a lot of people had. Into something Mitch touched on earlier, like, at the time, there was nothing but TMSs that promised the world, right? Like, we can do everything for you, not at the greatest level, but we will do everything. Just a small requirement. We also need your carriers and shippers to be on the same platform. No big deal. Get everybody on one platform and all the problems are solved. And now there's been this amazing changing of the tide of like very like specific companies that do a few things incredibly well. And I think everybody on this call is representative of that. And like, Greg, I'll even, kind of talk poorly about some of the things I did in my past when I was in the brokerage spaces. We built our own TMS. We built all of our own procurement tools. We did everything but sell freight well, right? And when we finally stopped the distraction, stopped the bleeding of millions of dollars into all these different tech endeavors to try to not use what was commercially available, the company came a lot further, a lot faster. And to that point, now a brokerage can pick a TMS, pick a pricing tool, pick procurement tools, pick tracking tools. They can pick best in breed everything and assemble it at a fractional cost relative to them having to be a CH Robinson and build it all out. Not just to, call out CH Robinson. They've been a good customer in the past at other logos. Love for them to come be a good customer now. But, to the point of their press release around millions of dollars and years spent in email automation that, anybody on Tai can turn on. Anybody, on a platform that doesn't support it can go elect these independent email automation platforms and just embed it and work with all their partners on it.
Yeah, I think that's really well said, man. We like to call it the buy plus build model because, there is this tendency, especially on the larger brokers, to build their own TMS and to build all these things out. But technology has evolved far enough where connectivity isn't hard anymore. And if you're working with an older legacy platform that doesn't have easy connectivity to other tools, you're really suffering. Like, I heard like one TMS takes 6 to 9 months to integrate in a compliance tool. We do it in 2 to 3 days, right? Because we're not reinventing the wheel, we're turning it on. We're enabling your connectivity. Same thing with you guys with Greenscreens, right? I think it takes us a few days to turn on the integration, and that's really just scheduling, right? I don't think it even really takes more than an hour. But the point is like out of the box connectivity, out of the box ease of use, and trying to take all these tools and take advantage of the technology that we have available to us today to make the connectivity so much easier and give the guys on Greg's team the guys on the floor every day a tool that they can use that feels seamless, right? Where they can get the information they need from Greenscreen, they can get the information they need from C4, pull all that information together where they need it, when they need it, without having to fight it, without having to go to different tabs or different screens or different logins. We want to streamline that whole flow so that we're showing the best in class for your product, and we're not trying to recreate your product. We want to connect to it. We want to share that information. And with the way technology is today, you can do that. You can buy plus build. You can buy the components, plug these components together, let them all work in the TMS, and then customize a little bit with things like workflow automation. So you get your special use case, but you don't have to spend all this time and energy building APIs to different tools that are best in breed.
Yeah, or spend time building another spreadsheet.
Yeah, exactly. No spreadsheets, please. No spreadsheets.
I mean, like that time versus energy is a big thing that I've been talking to a lot of people about, and like the shift from that. Like you could cover a load, one load next to another load probably takes the same amount of time. But if one of those bounces and you have to recover it, that effort and energy could be like double, triple, quadruple the amount of effort for the same amount of time and that it would have taken to cover the load. So now it's like, how do you like make that shift? And Greg, I want to ask you, I know that you had said that you guys sort of unpacked everything last week and things like that after the summit, and curious, like what were some takeaways from the summit for you, and how are you gonna, like, how do you implement sort of what you learned at the summit and kind of what you've talked about kind of going forward?
With a whip. No, actually, I took a great idea. Mitch used the phrase fast lane, slow lane quite a bit during the summit, and it was really for the document processor and what it can do, and a couple other things that Tai can offer. But I took that one step further. So like what Mitch was talking about, having C4 and green screens right in our truckload quoting page, making real-time decisions for our brokers on the floor, the guys that need to be seamless, right? And for that quick decision and all the tools that they can have in one place. And then that's where I want them living on the day-to-day and where they're covering loads. But that's not all of what we do, right? We go procure freight. We go rate things. We make sure our rates are good. So using that fast lane for everything's in one place. Let's go make it happen, because in truckload, right, it's book the load, get on to the next. Hopefully you don't have to go back. If you got to go back, it's the same process over. On the other end of that, if we are seeing those fall offs, if we are struggling to cover a load, like that's when I want the slow lane to happen. And that's when we move it over to a C4 and we check the rates through green screens and we make sure everything's aligned. So it kind of takes us out into your platform at that point to make sure we're getting all our ducks in a row and make sure that we're padding our capacity each lane, making sure that our pricing's correct and we're pricing the way Concept does. And both your tools do a good job at that. But that's really where we kind of took everything. And then, it was a big operational meeting. I actually did a re-standardization of all what we do in Concept, which I gave it to the team leads. We're having some conversations now, and then we're going to roll that out. We're lucky enough to have some legacy users of Tai in our organization at this point who have a really good grasp on Tai. So she and Chris and IT can really get in there and make those workflow automations happen quickly. They can go in and plug the emails in very quickly. So we're trying to ramp it up quickly. We're also trying to do it correctly, right? So I think that's where we kind of go in and say, okay, let's take one step back. Let's make sure we've got everything good. Let's re-standardize how we operate and what our communication statuses are, what our customers can expect, what we expect from each other, what tools do what, and where you want to go with that.
That sounds like a badass plan.
It does. I got to tell you, I'm really excited to hear that too, because we put together the user summit, and the thing that we want is exactly what Greg's sharing there. So I'm really excited to hear that and to see, and I hope we can get another update in another month or a couple of weeks from you too, Greg, about how that's progressing, because taking something valuable out of it and making a real change in the organization or helping improve something, that's I can't ask for any more than that. So it's super exciting to hear. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
thank you guys. That was, that's off of what you guys offer and how we can operate, right? If we're truly going to do what we need to do and grow, and growing isn't just adding bodies, it's doing the right thing in the right ways, right? And
Yeah.
vanity versus sanity type of scenario, right? Like, we can add all the revenue we want in the world. If we ain't making money, we ain't going nowhere.
Ain't going anywhere. Yeah. Nicely said. Nicely
Yeah,
said.
it's good, like, to think about, you could call it an ROI, or just like, what results are you looking for as a vendor or a partner like Greenscreens and us, or even as a the TMS putting it on. Like, that's really cool to hear. I guess, like, it's like it's not like a calculable, I guess, if that's even a word, ROI like 40x or anything, but it's like, this is also return on
Right.
what we invested in, right? Like the partnership, the time, all of that. Like, just hearing how you're going to execute this, Greg, and it's like their concept, and even Greenscreens, Matt, you guys, like, how do we continue to evolve the partnership for users like Concept to have like a meaningful return? That's I don't know, that's pretty, just again, well put, Greg. That's what I'd say. I guess, to kind of wrap up here, what was there any sort of trend or anything that, like, a theme of things, I guess, Matt, I'll just ask you this, like, any sort of trend or themes that you heard there at the conference, and kind of like where things are going?
Yeah, there's a couple things that really came out at the conference, and we've been hearing them through customer requests as well. First and foremost, like, and this one is just getting beaten, I think, from a lot of the shippers requesting quote automation, right? And that is seemingly difficult if you're on legacy TMS, or you've got processes that aren't interconnected, whether it's through your TMS or auxiliary to the TMS. That's troubling for a lot of the brokers out there. It seems like a big hurdle. And then on the other side of that coin is, companies like ours that are truly open, right? We don't care where you use Greenscreens. Use it as many places as you want. It's a flat monthly fee. So please use it in multiple places, right? Meet the needs of your shippers. We're here to help. But getting that feedback from our customers, not just with where we exist today, but new shippers that are making the requests, new technologies. There's so many new people in the market. Some of them were present at the conference, and thanks, Mitch, for bringing those in. But there's also some that are pivoting throughout the market to help meet this need of shippers. So that's one of the biggest things. Just, shippers are driving quote automation, hands down, biggest request we're seeing right now. The other thing, and for what it's worth, people tend to get a little sensitive about this right now, but like, yeah, we're still at the bottom of the market. But the one thing that I think I heard echoed through that room, every conversation I was involved with a brokerage, is like, it's not getting worse right now, which, if we go back last quarter before that, even, it's like, man, I hope it doesn't get worse. I hope it doesn't get worse. And it did, right? But the one thing, and, glimmers of hope right now, is that nobody was saying, like, I think it's getting worse. I think the sentiment is, we are at the bottom. Most everybody, at least certainly those that are willing to come to conferences and meet with new vendors, are stabilized, right? They've been in the waters that are choppy long enough to understand how to survive it. They're now making moves to prepare for the other side of the cycle. And I really want to specify cycle. Those of us that have gray in our beards or hairlines, or don't have much of a hairline left, we have seen cycles before. It comes and it goes, and it's important to know that this isn't just a slide deeper and deeper into the pits. There is a rebound to this. There is upticks, and there's a lot of driver forums I like to hang out on and read the opinions of drivers. I think they're fascinating. Some of them really, really accurate and well put. Some of them, a little out there at times. But even in the driver community, these small, like, single-digit percentage upticks are amazing glimmers of hope for people right now. And, anything that pumps positivity back into this market is really, really great. And outside of just broker feel, driver feel, I mentioned new incumbents to the market. That's good news. There's more investment dollars coming back in. all of these are signs of like a positive tide returning, and that's great. And Mitch, maybe I'm just staring at the ocean in the photo behind you to come up with all my ocean analogies, but I'm feeling that vibe right now.
It's a wild surf back there. Another thrill too.
This is actually a picture of the pier right in front of me, and it was taken from a local photographer. So it helps remind me where I want to be later on. So it keeps me in line. But that was well said, Matt. We definitely noticed that a lot, that the sentiment is starting to feel a little bit more positive. But regardless of whether or not the market's down or up, we have to prepare for the cycles, and we have to be ready for the cycles. And it's always a good time to look inside our business and think about what's the sanity level that we have, so that regardless of where you are in the cycle, it's always a good time to be doing that.
Yeah, I think it's because like when it was real crappy and people were like, it's not getting any better, like that, it sort of inspired more creativity, I think, and like how people are approaching their business. Like I used to talk a lot about cost per load. If you've never done the exercise to understand what your cost per load is, definitely need to start there. And it's like a lot of people don't do that. And it's, I think times like this, it's like, if you have kids, you're going to do everything you can to make sure that child's going to eat and survive and do everything well, right? And it's like, that's kind of what I feel like this market has done. And it was almost needed in a way, where like people needed to like kind of self-reflect on like, how are they running their business, and like, where do we take it from here, versus just doing the same thing that we've been doing the last 5 years and it didn't work. And I think that's where it's just the human nature of like people, I don't know, getting more inspired and motivated to do things.
Yeah, we had a conversation with one of our customers that we end up having a bigger discussion with, and they added, C4, they added green screen, and they integrated that into Tai and used Tai a little bit different on our truckload quoting page. Some of the stuff Greg was talking about in his operational side, and they changed their margin from 19 to 26% across all of their shipments in a given month. So that's kind of the thing. Like, the economy's tough, the market's tough, but they made an investment in technology, so they spent more money, but increased their margin from 19 to 26%. That is a huge increase. And they made their team more efficient in the process. So it ends up, those investments, the sanity check ends up making them more. That investment at a tough time made them more prepared. And when things turn and start growing again and start increasing, they're going to be in a much, much better position to take advantage of that. And it's a great time to think about that sanity component.
Yeah. Mitch, why don't you sign us off here, man? What any updates on future announcements of the summit, or what are you guys looking at? What are you working on now?
Yeah, so during the summit, we went through our workflows and our roadmaps and so forth, but there were really a couple key highlights. And that was, I guess, summarizing back to the buy plus build. We want to offer customization on top of your brokerage. So out of the box, plus customized for your workflows. So we talked about a couple highlights: carrier scorecarding, workflow automation, the truckload quoting page, and our task list and email automation, document processing. Those were kind of the highlights that we were focusing on, and our tools that are available in the TMS today that are designed to really help uplift your brokerage. And we want to make sure everybody's aware of them, using them the right way. And we'd love to get people in touch with more of that and doing exactly what Greg's doing. So thanks, Greg, for walking the line.
Yeah, well, somebody's got to.
Right on. Greg, Matt, Mitch, thanks for joining us today. This is an awesome conversation, and can't wait for the next one.